He snapped before the judge even sat down, and the room recoiled like someone had slammed a door in a small space. "I don't have all day," he barked, chin up, a laugh tucked behind his teeth like a dare. His grandmother didn't flinch. Not this time. Her fingers rested on a faded wallet in her lap, a quiet anchor against the choppy tide of his voice. "All rise." Shoes scuffed. Seats shifted. The judge entered without theatrics. No raised chin, no glare. Just a stillness that made noise irrelevant. She took her seat, nodded once to the bailiff, and the room settled as if gravity just doubled. "Be seated." Her voice was low, steady. The kind of voice that makes even loud people listen. The grandson planted himself at the defendant's podium, the posture of a man who thinks speed beats accuracy. "We can save everyone time," he announced. "She's confused. She gave me permission. This is a waste." The judge didn't blink. "Sir, names for the record." "Zayn Malik," he said, too quickly. "And I'm only here because, and you are?" The judge turned to the plaintiff. "Nazma Khan," the grandmother said softly. Her voice carried anyway. "People call me Nanny." The judge nodded once. "Miss Khan, Mr. Malik, here's how this will go. I ask, you answer. No speeches. No over-talking. Understood?" Zayn smirked. "Understood, Nani?" The judge asked. "Yes." "Your Honor." Her hands, knuckles lined with time, drew closer around the wallet, but her shoulders stayed squared. "Claim as unauthorized accounts, fraudulent charges, and harassment. Miss Khan alleges her grandson used her identity and threatened her. When she asks questions, Mr. Malik denies and claims she consented. Correct?" Nani's eyes dipped. "Yes," Zayn rolled his neck. "She told me to help. She forgets passwords. She loses things. I stepped in because no one else would." The judge's gaze slid back to him, calm, unamused. "We'll see. Miss Khan, how did you first realize something was wrong?" "A letter," she said. "Two, actually. One from a store I've never been to. One from a credit card company. So I called my bank. They told me about accounts I didn't open." "Did you authorize your grandson to open any accounts in your name?" "No. Did you give him your social security number, date of birth, or copies of your ID?" "I gave him nothing," she said, and this time the softness turned to steel. "I gave him trust." Zayn scoffed. "She told me to fix it. She just doesn't want to say it out loud because she's embarrassed." The judge raised a palm. "It wasn't loud, but it sliced the air clean. Do not talk over her. A beat. Mr. Malik, you're alleging consent. I'll need something better than she told me. Where's your proof?" He spread empty hands. "I didn't think I'd have to keep receipts for helping my own grandmother. You kept receipts for the purchases?" His jaw twitched. "I mean, some." But the judge tilted her head. "You just said you didn't keep receipts." A ripple of attention moved through the gallery. The bailiff, stone-faced until now, shifted his stance. Nani drew a breath. "I didn't want to bring him here," she said quietly. "But when I asked questions, he told me to stop. He told me," her throat tightened, "he told me there would be consequences if I kept talking." Zayn scoffed louder. "Oh, please." "I said consequences like late fees and collections." She's twisting it like always. The judge didn't look at him. "Ms. Khan will get to any recordings. For now, did you ever sign anything related to these accounts?" "No. Did you ever receive shipments?" "Packages," she said, nodding. "Things I didn't order. My neighbor found two on my porch when I was at work." "I don't buy things like that." "What things?" "A gaming laptop," Nani whispered, almost apologizing to the word. "And headphones. Very expensive. I returned them. The store said the account holder could only return, not the recipient. So I paid shipping to send them back." Zayn's mouth twitched. "If you return them, where's the harm?" "The harm," the judge said, finally turning to him, "is in the process that got them there." She tapped her pen once, a small sound that somehow pressed on the air. "Mr. Malik, when did you become your grandmother's financial power of attorney?" I didn't, not on paper." "On paper is the only way it counts." He leaned in as if volume could replace logic. She loses her phone. Her passwords. I did what any decent grandson would do. The judge let that hang. Bailiff, the blue file. A blue folder landed on the bench with a soft thud. The judge laid a hand over it like she was calming a skittish animal. This is from the bank, she said. Metadata for account signups. Device IDs. IP addresses. Timestamps. You know what those are, Mr. Mullick? He swallowed. Everyone shares Wi-Fi. That doesn't mean sit tight. The judge opened the folder, scanned without hurry, then set one page forward. Miss Khan, do you recognize this email address? She squinted. No, Mr. Mullick. Zane folded his arms. I have several emails. Of course you do. The judge's mouth didn't smile, but something in her eyes did. This one signed up for 3 accounts using your grandmother's name. The verification codes were delivered to a device registered to you. Same device also logged into a delivery portal to intercept tracking updates. The packages went to Miss Khan's porch. 2 hours later, there's a new address added for future deliveries. Yours. A hush settled, thicker than before. Zane blinked. Anyone could have. Stop. One more vague sentence, and I'll take it as an admission you have nothing specific to say. He clamped his jaw shut. The judge turned back to Nani. Did you ever text your grandson access codes? I don't know how to do codes. My phone is old. The bank calls me. I answer or I go there. Understood. The judge set the page down. Mr. Mullick, you say you were helping her. Why did you need to change the delivery address to your apartment? He stared at the desk as if the wood might answer for him. Because porch pirates, he said finally. Her neighbor found 2 packages sitting safely on her porch, the judge said. Try again. He inhaled through his nose. I figured I'd make sure things didn't get stolen. By bringing them to a place only you can access, the judge said, voice flat. How generous. A soft laugh slipped from somewhere in the audience and died immediately under the bailiff's glance. Nani didn't laugh. She just watched Zane, the way a person watches a door close from the other side. The judge lifted another page. Also in this folder is a fraud alert Miss Khan filed. It lists a phone call she received from a number now registered to you. 10 minutes later, an email goes out from your address, adding a second contact to her online profile. You. That wasn't porch pirates. That was planning. Zane's shoulders rose. I was trying to get ahead of any issues. You got ahead of them by creating them, the judge said. Miss Khan, do you have something else for me? Nani hesitated. She reached into her wallet slow, careful, and pulled out a folded scrap, edges softened by touch. I didn't want to use this, she said. I kept it because I believed it. The judge gestured. Bring it here. The bailiff carried the note up. The judge opened it. A young person's handwriting, messy with sincerity, stumbled across the page. 19, Nani said quietly. He was 19 when he wrote it. The judge read, I'm sorry, Nani. I won't talk to you like that again. I'll pay you back for the phone bill and for the overdraft. I'll learn how to do this, right? The room held its breath. Zane's voice shrank. I wrote that when I was a kid. You wrote it as a person who knew the difference between right and wrong, the judge said. Do you still? His jaw worked. No answer came out. The judge placed the note next to the blue folder. The 2 documents sat there like bookends around the story Zane kept trying to rearrange. We're not done, the judge said, tone softening into something that somehow felt heavier. Miss Khan, when you confronted your grandson, what did he say? Nani's lips trembled, but her eyes didn't. He said if I didn't stop asking, I'd regret running my mouth. He said I wasn't grateful. Do you have that in writing or on a recording? Nani reached again into the wallet. Not a scrap this time? A small USB stick wrapped in tissue like something too sharp to lay bare. My neighbor told me to bring this, she said. I don't like phones. But she recorded a message that came to my landline when she was visiting. She said I should keep it. Zane went still. For the first time, still. The bailiff took the drive, plugged it into a portable player, handed the judge a small remote. The judge didn't press play. Not yet. She watched Zane instead. Before I push this button, she said, do you want to revise anything you've said today? He tried to smile. It didn't land. I didn't threaten her. The judge nodded once. Not approval. Not surprise. Just a mental note getting written. Then the recording will clear that up. She lifted her thumb toward the button. She didn't press it. She let the room wait. Not because she needed their attention, but because she already had Zane's. His fingers found the edge of the podium and gripped until the joints paled. Mr. Malik, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Why are you really so loud? He blinked, confused, off balance. What? Because people who are certain don't have to shout. She pressed play. Asterisk, the speaker crackled. Then his voice filled the room, steady, practiced. The kind of calm that makes words hit harder. Nani, stop asking questions. You're going to say exactly what I told you to say, or I'm not covering anything this month. Gas, internet, whatever. You want to freeze? Keep pushing me. The recording clicked off. No music. No echo. Just a silence that exposed the shape of every breath. Zane stared at the player like it had betrayed him. Out of context. The judge didn't look at him. Miss Can, did you rely on Mr. Malik to pay any of your bills? Only the internet, she said. He changed it into his bundle. I let him. It was cheaper. Then he started using it to make me say yes. Did you owe him money? No, Nani said. I paid him cash each month. The judge flicked a glance at Zane. Is that true? He lifted his shoulder. Sometimes isn't an answer. The judge tapped the remote. The recording resumed. You'll say you told me to help. That you're forgetful. That you trust me. If you embarrass me in front of anyone again, I'll make sure you regret it. Don't test me. The judge stopped the clip and set the remote down like it weighed more than plastic. Is that your voice, Mr. Malik? It sounds like, is that your voice? He swallowed. Yes, but no. The judge leaned in an inch. Somehow it felt like a shove. Explain the line. I'll make sure you regret it. Regret what? How? Zane opened his mouth. Close to it. It was a figure of speech. Figures of speech don't attach to utilities, the judge said. Miss Khan, did he shut anything off? He changed the Wi-Fi password once, Nani whispered. I had to sit outside the library to pay a bill. Zane's head snapped toward her. You didn't tell me that. You weren't asking, she said. The judge let the sentence land. Then, bailiff, call the neighbor. A woman stood from the second row, crisp blouse, hair pulled back, eyes that said she had seen enough. She stepped up to the small stand. The bailiff swore her in. State your name. Layla Amded. How do you know the plaintiff? We live on the same floor. I check in on her. She hates asking for help, so I just show up. The judge nodded. Ms. Ahmed, did you record that voicemail? I did, Layla said. It came to her landline while I was there. She puts everything on speaker because the hearing's not great. I pressed the red button on my phone and told her to save it. Zane shook his head. You don't even like me. I don't know you, Layla said, not even looking his way. I know what I heard. Besides the voicemail, the judge said, have you witnessed anything relevant? I've seen him pick up packages from her door at 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. 2 days apart, Layla said. He didn't knock. He just took them. And I heard him in the hall once. He was loud. He called her pathetic. She cried after he left. Zane threw his hands up. You can't prove those were even my packages. They were addressed to Nazmo, Layla said evenly. I saw the label when she asked me if she should open them. Ms. Ahmed, the judge said, do you have any messages from Mr. Malik? Layla hesitated, then pulled out her phone. After I told him to stop yelling in the hallway, she said, he texted me from an unknown number. She handed the phone to the bailiff, who delivered it to the bench. The judge read, stay out of family business or you'll be sorry. Then another, you don't want me as an enemy. Same number as the voicemail, the judge said softly. Mr. Malik? He stared at the floor. I was mad. Anger doesn't give you permission to threaten a witness, the judge said. Ms. Ahmed, thank you. You may sit. Lila returned to her seat. She didn't look at Zane. The judge opened the blue folder again, slid a new page forward. Merchant return log, she said. Gaming store. Serial number matches the laptop Ms. Khan received. Return processed in person 2 days later. Refund issued to store credit. ID scan recorded. Driver license ending 4421. Name, Zain Malik. You want to explain why you're returning items purchased on accounts in your grandmother's name? Zain went still. I helped her get the money back. The credit was issued to you, the judge said. Not to her. And it was used the same day for a chair, monitors, and a controller. All shipped to your address. She looked up. Was that also help? He pressed his palms to the podium until the wood pressed back. I was going to sell them and pay her back. This is blown way out of proportion. The judge's tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. Proportion matches pattern. Let's talk about the bank's note. She turned another page. Customer service entry. Caller pretended to be elderly account holder. Failed security. Demanded to add authorized user named Zane. Disconnected when asked to visit branch. 4 minutes later, new login created from IP address ending .17, same as 3 prior signups. That IP is registered to your apartment complex. He tried to laugh. It came out strange. Half the building could be on that IP. Half the building also has your driver's license? The judge asked, tapping the return log dot. He didn't answer. The judge glanced at Nani. Why didn't you cut him off sooner? Nani's hands tightened around the wallet. Because I thought he'd get better. He promised. She looked down. He wrote me a letter when he was 19. He said he would learn. Every time I wanted to say no, I remembered that letter and said yes. Miss Khan, the judge said gently, do you believe he'll change if you keep paying for the mess? Nani lifted her head. The softness in her eyes didn't vanish, but the shape around it sharpened. No. Asterisk, the judge returned to Zane. Mr. Malik, right now I have the recording of your threat, a neighbor's testimony, a return log with your ID, bank metadata linking signups to your devices, and a pattern of rerouting value to yourself. I'm giving you one chance to tell the truth. She waited. Were you authorized? He exhaled through his teeth. I thought she'd be fine. I thought I could make it right. That's not an answer, the judge said. I needed time, he said. I was drowning. I thought if I moved some stuff around, it'd balance. She always forgives me. There it is, the judge said quietly. You didn't rely on consent. You relied on forgiveness. He asserted his hands. Look at me, the judge said. He did. If this were a one-off mistake, your first instinct wouldn't be to threaten the person you say you were helping. He swallowed. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that, the judge said. Words aren't slippery accidents when they form sentences like instructions. The bailiff stepped forward with another folder, this one purple. The judge didn't open it yet. She placed a fingertip on the cover and watched Zane the way a cardiologist watches a monitor. Before I open this, we need to talk about last week, she said. Miss Khan filed a fraud alert and a temporary protection order. After you were served, there's a brand new application here, a store account using her name, phone, and a new email. Approved. Attempted charge the next morning. Do you know what I'm about to show you? Zane's head shook in a tiny motion he couldn't control. No, then you'll be surprised, the judge said. She flipped the folder open, slid printout halfway across the bench. New account, same device ID, same IP, different email. nkhan.refunds.help@mail. Cute. The attempted charge? A heater, shipping to your apartment. He stared at the page like it had a pulse. I live in a studio. It's drafty. You tried to buy a heater on the account of the woman you threatened to freeze, the judge said. I don't think the irony helps you. A murmur moved through the gallery. The judge lifted her palm, and the room went still again. Miss Khan, she said, I'm going to ask you a hard question. Did you ever, even once, tell him to sign your name? No, Nani said. Not once, Mr. Malik. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, they looked older, like the last hour had added a year. I thought, if I fixed it fast enough, she'd never know. I didn't want her to worry. You didn't want her to interfere, the judge corrected. Different thing. He didn't argue. You know what the worst part isn't? The judge asked, almost to the room. It isn't the laptop or the heater or even the threats. It's that you used her trust as material. You built your comfort out of it. She turned the purple folder around fully now. And you kept building after the first wall fell. She pulled out a single-page form, crisp, with a signature line. This is a branch signature card for a new savings account in Miss Can's name. It was never funded, and the bank flagged it. The clerk wrote a note. Customer's grandson signed with a different flourish. When challenged, he said, she signs different when she's tired. Zane's face went blank. That's not stop, the judge said. This isn't improv. Nene's voice arrived small but steady. Why did you do that? He looked at her, and for a second the armor slipped. Under the sharp edges, a boy flickered, the one who wrote a note at 19. Because I was scared, he said, so quietly it barely reached the mic. I was scared of telling you I couldn't keep up. I was scared you'd finally stop helping. So you made sure I couldn't, Nani said. You didn't ask. You took. He nodded once. Nothing to hide behind. The judge set the signature card down with the note and the return log and the printout. A slow, deliberate stacking of truth. We're going to bring in one more voice, she said, eyes on Zane. Not a neighbor. Not a clerk. Someone you thought would keep your secret because she loves you. Zane's head jerked. Who? The judge lifted her chin toward the door. Bailiff. Asterisk, the door at the side of the courtroom opened. A woman stepped in, worn tow, nerves in her hands, but iron in her spine. She looked from Nani to Zane and stopped at the latter like the sight of him tugged something inside her taut. State your name, the bailiff said. She swallowed. Sadia Malik, she said. I'm his mother. The room inhaled. Zane forgot to. He went pale. The judge didn't move. Ms. Malik, she said calmly, tell me about the account you closed 3 years ago. The one you opened for him. Tell me why you closed it. Tell me what you asked him to stop doing. Zane's breath finally came. It sounded like a drop into cold water. He reached for words and found none. The judge's gaze didn't waver. Mr. Malik, your excuses just ran out. The question is what you'll put in their place. She glanced at the purple folder again. As if there was one more page she hadn't flipped yet. There was, asterisk. Sadia's name was still settling over the room when the judge spoke again. No rush, no drama. Just gravity. Double quotes, Ms. Malik, she said. When did you first realize your son was using your name? Sadia wet her lips. When collections started calling me about a phone I never owned, she said. He said it was a mistake. I paid it. I closed the account I'd opened for him. I told him he couldn't use my name anymore. He promised. Her eyes fell to the floor. I taught him wrong. I covered for him. That stops today. Zane finally found his voice. Ma, don't, Sadia said without looking at him. The word didn't rise above polite. It's so cut. The judge turned a page in the purple folder and slid a photocopy to the edge of the bench. Branch form, she said. 3 years ago. Remove authorized user, Z Malik. Handwritten note by the teller. Mother reports son opening accounts without consent. Advises she will handle alone. The judge flipped the page. Then a month later an email adding Zimalik88 as a backup contact on that same profile. She looked at him. That your handle? Zane's lips pressed thin. People spoof emails all the time. They spoofed it to your recovery phone then? The judge asked. The one ending in 42 that shows up on both Miss Can's and Miss Malik's alerts. He looked at Sadia, then at Nani, then at the floor. The answer stayed trapped behind his teeth. Let's move to last Thursday, the judge said. Miss Khan filed a temporary order limiting contact. Service was recorded at 3:42 p.m. A camera in her lobby captured this image at 2:11 a.m. The bailiff displayed a glossy still. Zane in the glow of the vestibule. Hood up, hands cupped around his eyes to see through glass. Was that you? He stared at the photo like it might blink and say no. I brought her food. The judge nodded. And this text, sent at 2:14 a.m. to Ms. Ahmed's number when she didn't buzz you in? She held up the bailiff's phone again. Open the door. Last chance before I make this worse. You bring food with threats, Mr. Malik? He shut his eyes. I was frustrated. Frustration doesn't sound like that, the judge said. We already discussed what it sounds like. The room barely breathed. Layla watched Zayn without gloating. Sadia watched like she was trying to memorize his face before it changed again. Nani just watched, hands folded over the wallet like a prayer. Ms. Khan, the judge said gentler, why didn't you tell the bank to freeze everything immediately? Nani's mouth trembled and steadied. Because every time I made a hard choice, he promised me the next time would be different. She looked at Zayn as if that memory sat between them in a chair. And sometimes I wanted to believe him more than I wanted to believe the truth. The judge let that live in the air. Then she tapped the purple folder. This includes internal banknotes, she said. I'm not going to read them all. Two matter. 1. Caller failed security. Claimed to be elderly female. Voice sounded male. Became agitated. Hung up. 2. Subsequent call from same number said, my grandma can't answer questions. Add me or we'll switch banks. Agent refused. The judge's eyes landed on Zayn. You got used to doors opening when you banged on them? He swallowed. I was scared. That, the judge said, is the first true thing you've said without a but attached. She leaned forward a fraction. Scared of what? Zayn stared at his hands. Being nothing, he said, words so small they barely made it to the mic. Being ordinary, broke, everyone from school posting like they're flying, and I can't even... He stopped. I didn't want her to know that about me. Sadia's shoulders shook once. Not a sob. A release. Nani blinked slowly, as if she could press something soft over that admission and keep it safe, without letting it excuse a thing. The judge nodded once. So you found a shortcut through someone else's life? She laid out the stack on the bench in a neat row. The note from 19, the return log, the signature card, the IP printout, the still photo. We're not in philosophy class. We're in court. Feelings don't erase facts. He didn't fight that double quotes, Ms. Khan, the judge said. I'm going to ask you a question you won't like. You don't have to answer quickly. Did you ever let him bend a rule because it was easier than telling him no? Nani's breath came in and out, measured. Yes, she said at last. He returned a sweater for me once. I bought the wrong size, and I don't like arguing with clerks. I gave him the receipt. He came back with cash instead of an exchange. I didn't ask how. She looked at her lap. I should have. Zayn's head turned, surprised by the smallness of the confession. The judge acknowledged it with a tiny nod. That moment, she said, becomes a hinge if you're not careful. Do it for me becomes do it instead of me becomes do it without me becomes do it to me. Nani's eyes shone, but she didn't look away. The judge lifted a thin green sheet. Different paper. This is a transfer log, she said. Small amounts. 40 here. 60 there. Over 3 months. From an account ending in 0301, Ms. Khan's, to an account ending in 4421. Label on the recipient? Zemo at groceries. Zayn seized it, desperate. See? Groceries. The label is what you typed in your own banking app, the judge said. The bank doesn't verify your story. It just moves the money. Silence expanded, then sat down among them like a fourth chair at the table. Sadia spoke first. Do you know what groceries look like when you've already taken rent and heat and dignity? She asked softly. They look like a neighbor bringing soup. Lila didn't move, but her throat worked around a swallow. The judge set her pen down. Mr. Malik, she said, if all I had were the charges, I'd still find for Miss Khan. But I don't just have charges. I have a recording of intimidation, an attempted end run after a court order, and a pattern of exploiting an elderly relative's trust. That turns a money case into a moral one, and moral cases have a way of following you long after the money is paid. He nodded in tiny, rigid motions. You want to say you're sorry, The judge continued. You've written it before. You write it well. But I'm not a collector of your apologies. I'm a collector of your choices. So here's your fork in the road. She opened a fresh manila envelope and slid out 2 forms. One is a stipulated judgment for the full amount with a schedule. The other is a referral for potential criminal review for identity misrepresentation and elder exploitation, which I am authorized to forward on my own initiative. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you how close you are to a door that doesn't open the way you think. The room contracted around that sentence. Zane licked his lips. How much, he asked, voice rasping, is the full amount? The judge scanned and read, clean and precise. Charges returned and credits misdirected, 3,180. Late fees and interest she covered, 520. Service calls. Shipping and account recovery fees, 195. The heater attempt declined still shows on her fraud file and affected her rate. I'm not assessing imaginary damage, but I am ordering you to pay for identity restoration. Services for a year, 220. Total, 4,115. She paused. Plus the filing fee, which she shouldn't have had to pay to get your attention. Zane's jaw worked. I can't pay that at once. No one asked you to, the judge said. She tapped the first form. But I won't accept. I'll figure it out as a plan. He wished for a pocket to crawl into. Found none. I can do 500 now, he said, almost to himself. And 200 every 2 weeks. He glanced at Sedia, shame moving under his skin. Not from her. Not from her, the judge agreed. Or Ms. Ahmed. Or anyone on this side of the room who taught you love looks like a bailout. You'll bring proof of income to the clerk before you leave. You'll sign a wage garnishment consent if you miss a payment by more than 7 days. You will not text, call, or send a friend to deliver messages to Miss Khan. You will not handle her mail. You will not touch one more account with her name on it. She gestured at the bailiff. You violate that. The purple folder walks itself across the street. Zane nodded, horror and relief mixing like oil and water. Okay, he whispered. Okay. The judge didn't relax. No, she said. Not okay yet. She turned to Nani. Miss Khan, I'm going to say something that will feel unkind. It isn't. It's necessary. If he tries to make you feel small for protecting yourself, do not argue. Hang up. If he locks you out of the internet again, do not go sit at the library. Call your provider and change the account. Call your neighbor. Call the clerk. Call anyone but him. You do not owe him silence to keep the peace. Asterisk Nani nodded, the motion slow and deliberate, like setting a stone on a wall. I won't. Sadia inhaled. I can help her set everything up, she offered, tentative. New passwords, a credit freeze, alerts. Zane flinched. Mom, Sadia didn't look at him. I'm helping your grandmother, she said. You can help yourself. Asterisk, the judge watched all 3 of them like she was checking for heartbeats. Before we finish the math, she said, I want one more truth in the record. She turned to Zane. You threatened Ms. Ahmed. You leveraged utilities against Ms. Khan. You used your mother's name when you were younger and she covered it. You hid behind love every time. Who taught you that love means not looking? Zane's mouth opened, stayed open, then shut. He stared at the old apology note like he might be able to crawl back inside it. No one, he said, and the word felt too thin. I taught myself. Every time it worked. There it is, the judge murmured. A clean sentence? She reached into the manila envelope again and withdrew a single folded print. There's one call log I haven't mentioned, she said, quiet. 2 minutes. Yesterday. 2:17 a.m. outgoing from your number to Miss Khan's. Not answered. Followed by a text. Last warning. Drop it. You recognize that, Mr. Malik? His breath stuttered. Don't answer yet, the judge said. She slid the print to the edge of the bench but kept a finger on it. Because I'm going to play the second voicemail in a moment. The one you left when the text didn't get what you wanted. She looked at him like she was measuring something only she could see. And how you behave between now and the sound of your own voice will tell me whether I sign the judgment alone or attach a referral. Zane swallowed hard. What do you want me to do? Tell the truth before the tape does, the judge said. Look at your grandmother and say what you were trying to make her do at 2:17 in the morning. He turned to Nani. The room narrowed until only the two of them existed. His face collapsed into something fragile, something without armor. I wanted you to drop the case, he said. I wanted you to let me off again. And? The judge pressed, not unkind, and I was going to scare you into it, he whispered. Because that's worked on everyone I love. Nani's lips trembled. She didn't cry. She nodded once, a tiny no for a way of living that just died. The judge picked up the remote. Now, she said, and her thumb hovered. Let's hear the thing you don't say if you mean to change. Asterisk, the second voicemail clicked alive with a hiss. Then his voice lower, colder, intimate, in the worst way. End this. Nani, withdraw the report in the morning. I'm not playing with you. I know where the spare key is. I'll come in and take what's mine if you keep making this ugly. Don't make me do that to you. Silence slapped the room. Not a cough. Not a shuffle. Even the air seemed careful. Zane's throat worked. That's not, I never, the judge didn't move for a beat, like the moment itself needed a place to land. Then, evenly, Mr. Malik, did you place that call after the temporary order was served? His eyes fluttered, a reflex against a light he couldn't bear. Yes. The bailiff took one step forward, not loud, just certain. The floor felt smaller. You referenced a spare key, the judge said. Where is it? Nani folded in on herself for a heartbeat, then straightened. Under the potted fern in the hallway, behind the stand. Did you put it there? Yes, she said. For emergencies? For him. The judge nodded once, then to Zane. Keys. He blinked. What? Any key to Miss Can's door in your possession? Place it on the rail, now. A flicker of fright lit his eyes and died fast. He pulled a key from his back pocket, then another from his wallet, then hesitated and reached into the tiny coin pocket on his jeans. The small one landed with a bright, ugly ring. Bailiff, collect them, the judge said. Clerk note, defendant relinquishes all keys to plaintiff's residence. Order, plaintiff to change locks within 24 hours. Costs tax to defendant. Zane stared at the empty space, his keys left in his hand. Bewildered at how light it suddenly felt, Ms. Ahmed, the judge said without looking away from Zane. Did you ever see Mr. Malik enter Miss Khan's apartment without knocking? Lala rose halfway. I saw him try the knob once, she said. I told him she was napping. He laughed and said, she doesn't lock in the daytime. Then he left. Zane shook his head too quickly. I never sit tight, the judge said, not unkind, not kind. We all heard the tape. She turned the purple folder again, slid out a page with a corporate letterhead. Affidavit from the electronics retailer, she read. Manager declares under penalty of perjury that defendant returned items purchased under Miss Khan's identity. Store policy requires matching name defendant presented explanation. My grandmother can't make it. She's sick. I handle everything for her. ID scan attached. She raised her eyes. How many lies do you think it takes to call it a plan? Zane's silence wasn't stony. It was tired. The fight was becoming something else in him, something that didn't know how to yell. Double quotes, Miss Malik, the judge said, turning to Sadia. Do you want to add anything about the key? Sadia's fingers twisted the strap of her tote, then let go. He has copies of everything, she said softly. Passwords, keys, the way we apologize. She looked at Nani. Not anymore. Nani blinked hard once, and that one blink looked like mercy ending where safety began. The judge folded her hands. Mr. Malik, I can sign today's judgment and send you home with a payment plan, she said. Or I can attach a referral for review of possible criminal conduct and an extended protective order. You're standing with one foot on either path. Don't ask me which is easier. Ask me which one you deserve. His chest moved in quick, shallow rises. I don't want to be this person, he said, as if telling the air a secret. That's not a sentence, the judge replied. It's a wish. We're making a record. Records need verbs. She waited. What did you do? He swallowed. The words came rough, like being dragged across gravel. I opened accounts in her name, he said. I changed addresses. I took packages. I returned them for credit to me. I threatened her. I threatened the neighbor. I called after I was told not to call. I lied a lot. His voice thinned, and I used her trust as a way to fix my mess. The judge nodded, a single, precise motion. Clean sentences. He looked at Nani, and his next sentence wasn't for the record. I'm sorry, he said. I used your love like a tool. I made you small so I could feel big. I hate that I did that. Nani's hand lifted, hovered, lowered. Don't hate it, she said. Stop doing it. The judge slid a small stack of printed pages across to the rail. Identity protection services. Credit freeze instructions. Fraud alert templates. Ms. Malik will walk you through them today. Ms. Ahmed, if you're willing, exchange numbers with the clerk, so there's a second set of eyes for deliveries. For the next month. Layla nodded without turning it into a victory. And you. The judge said to Zane, you will write nothing to either woman. No texts, no half apologies, no late night paragraphs. If you have a payment question, you will contact the clerk. If you need time, you will file a request. You will not show up at their doors with food or stories or emergencies you invented to buy your way back. He nodded. Yes, we're not finished, the judge added, voice cooled to surgical. There's one more piece. She pulled a thin envelope from beneath the purple folder. The paper inside was crisp, government tidy. Social service note, she said. Someone called Adult Protective Services 2 weeks ago and withdrew the complaint an hour later. Caller ID shows your number. The withdrawal came from the same number. Did you report your grandmother and then cancel it when you realized it wouldn't make her look the way you wanted? Zane's head snapped up as if the word protective had grabbed him by the collar. It was a mistake. How? The judge asked, not accusing, genuinely curious about the mechanics of his choice. I thought, his voice strained. If they think she can't manage things, then I could step in. The bank would listen. It was stupid. I panicked and hung up when they started asking for an address. Sadia made a small wounded sound. It didn't fill the room. It filled him. The judge set the note down as if placing a photo on a mantle. You tried to use the state to make your exploitation look like help, she said. That's not just a pattern. That's escalation. Asterisk Zane's hands flattened on the podium. I'll sign whatever, he said. I'll do the payments, the class, He groped for a word that wasn't free. Consequences. The judge studied him, not for drama, for data. Was this just a new strategy or an actual shift in gravity? Miss Khan, she said, turning, I'm going to ask you for one last hard thing. Not about him. About you. When he calls crying in a month, in 6 months, and you feel yourself reaching for your wallet or your softest words, what will you do instead? Nanny's eyes glistened, but her mouth was steady. I will say, call the clerk, and I will hang up. She exhaled. Then I will call Sadia or Layla and tell them I did it so I don't take it back. Sadia nodded, a small studying. Lila nodded too. Good, the judge said. You don't have to fight alone for it to count as strong. She lifted the manila envelope with the 2 forms again, weighed them in her palm. Then she pulled out a third paper short, half a page. This is a civil stay-away order, she said. 90 days, renewable to a year, with carve-outs for payment via the clerk. Violations go straight to the purple folder's new address. Zane folded, not into himself, but into the shape of someone who finally understood the perimeter. I'll sign it. You'll also hand over any passwords that affect Miss Khan's life, the judge added. Email, delivery apps, utilities bundled in your name. You'll do that before you leave this building, with the clerk present. You will log out and delete any saved devices. You will attest under penalty of perjury that you did so. If I find out you left a back door open, the door you walk through next won't be this one. He nodded, quick, grateful for instructions that didn't feel like drowning. Asterisk. The judge glanced toward the gallery. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, she said, and the whole room twitched at the word like waking from a dream. During the recess, the bailiff will collect a written statement from Mr. Malik acknowledging the voicemail, the threats, and the key surrender. He will sign the consent for wage garnishment if needed. Miss Khan will sit with the clerk to set the lock change. Reimbursement and the identity services, Miss Malik. You'll coordinate new passwords and a freeze on file. She paused, then looked back at Zane. One more thing before we break, she said. Your mouth has been loud all morning. Your pen will be louder now. You're going to write an apology to Miss Kane. Not here. Not performative. 3 specifics: what you did, what you owe, what you will not do again. No tears on paper. No justifications. 1 page. The clerk will hold it. Miss Khan can choose to read it or burn it. It's not for her healing. It's for your record. He nodded. Okay. The judge's gaze cut cleaner now, less fog in the way. Say the line you've been avoiding, she said quietly. Not I'm sorry. That one's cheap today. The other one. He looked lost for a breath. Then his eyes found Nani's, and the shape of the sentence gathered itself in his chest. I don't have permission to use you anymore, he said. Not your name. Not your fear. Not your love. Nani's chin lifted a fraction, the smallest ceremony. Correct. The judge gave the tiniest nod, approval without softness. Court is in brief recess, she said, rising. The bailiff's call followed, but the word brief didn't let anyone exhale the whole way. As people stood, Zane stayed where he was. Hands still on the podium, like he was afraid to let go of something that for the first time felt solid. Seda didn't go to him. Nani didn't look away from the clerk's desk where a stack of forms waited like new locks for more than just a door. Layla brushed past Zane on her way out, not unkind, simply done being scenery in his story. Change is boring after the first day, she murmured without stopping. Make it anyway. The judge stepped through the side door and paused with her hand on the frame. Mr. Malik, she said without looking back, when we return, I'll decide whether that purple folder gets a walk. What you put on paper in the next 5 minutes, verbs, not wishes, might keep it seated. The door shut. The room buzzed softly with the business of consequences. The purple folder lay very still. Asterisk 5 minutes felt longer than most years. When the judge re-entered, the room snapped back into place as if someone tightened all the screws. All rise. Then, be seated. The bailiff set a neat stack on the rail, signed forms. A small envelope, a single-page letter in blue ink. The judge didn't sit yet. She looked at Zane. Did you write the apology? Yes. 3 specifics? He nodded. What I did. What I owe. What I won't do again. Clerk, the judge said. Hold it. Miss Khan may read it or not. It belongs to the file either way. The clerk tucked the letter beside the purple folder. The apology didn't look big, but paper rarely does when it's carrying weight. He surrendered? The judge asked. 3, the bailiff confirmed. Logged. Password handoff? The clerk glanced at notes. Utilities and delivery apps unlinked. Email recovery removed. New password set written from Miss Khan and Miss Malik. Defendant logged out and signed an attestation. The judge sat. Good. She folded her hands, and the room leaned toward them like iron to a magnet. Here's the order. She said it like a diagnosis, not a weapon. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,115 plus filing fee. Payment plan as proposed. $500 today, $200 every 2 weeks until satisfied. Consent to wage garnishment signed. 1 7-day grace period per year, not cumulative. Identity restoration service for 1 year, paid by defendant. Zane nodded, gaze fixed at a safe middle distance. Defendant to reimburse log change within 24 hours. Receipts to clerk. Defendant has relinquished all keys and is prohibited from possessing any key to Miss Khan's residence. He shall not be on her floor, in her hallway, or outside her door. Stay away order for 90 days, renewable up to 1 year upon motion by plaintiff. No contact except through the clerk for payment communication. No third-party messages. No late-night apologies. She turned to Nani. Miss Khan, you will change the locks. You will set a fraud alert and a credit freeze. Ms. Malik will assist. Ms. Ahmed. She nodded toward Layla, if you're willing. Exchange numbers with the clerk for delivery check-ins for 30 days. I'm willing, Layla said. Good, the judge said. Now class requirements. Mr. Malik, you will attend a financial accountability course within 60 days and file proof. You will also attend a boundaries workshop run by the court's partner program. Not therapy, she added, before he could decide to perform for a clinician. Education. Verbs, not wishes. I'll do it, Zane said. No qualifiers. The judge finally touched the purple folder with one fingertip. The gesture drew everyone's eyes like a magnet draws filings. This, she said, soft enough to cut deeper, contains enough to walk across the street today. The threats. The return logs. The attempted use of state services to frame your grandmother as incompetent so you could control her life. If I push it, I can't pull it back. The room contracted. Even the air seemed to brace. I'm not averse to pushing it, she went on. But I'm going to hold it here for now. 90 days. During that time, you will meet every requirement in this order. If you miss one payment without the clerk's approved modification, if you contact Ms. Khan or Ms. Ahmed, if you so much as jiggle the knob on her door, the bailiff will carry this folder to the office with my signature on top. She tapped the cover once. This folder doesn't weigh much. It lands heavy. Zane swallowed. Yes, Your Honor. Say out loud what you owe besides money. Respect, he said. Silence when she says no. Distance. He breathed. Change. Good, the judge said. Clean sentences. She nodded to the bailiff, who handed over the small envelope. 500 today, the judge said. The rest starts in 2 weeks. He took the envelope and passed it to the clerk. A small thing, almost absurdly ordinary. The beginning of boring change, like Layla had said. Before we close, the judge said, we're going to make one more record. She looked to Sadia, Ms. Malik. Sadia stood, hands still but not clenched. Yes, you will help Ms. Khan with passwords and calls. You will not be a go-between for money or messages. If your son cries at your door, you will give him the clerk's number. Not because you don't love him, because you do. Sadia's eyes flickered. She nodded. I understand. Zane turned toward his mother without meaning to. The look that met him wasn't punishment. It was a boundary, clean as a drawn line. Asterisk, the judge switched her attention to Layla. Miss Ahmed, thank you for showing up. Not everyone does. If you receive any more messages from Mr. Malik, you will send them to the clerk, not back to him. If anyone knocks at your door on his behalf, you will call the bailiff. You do not have to have an argument in a hallway to be brave. Layla's mouth tipped into a small, exhausted almost smile. Understood. Miss Khan, the judge said finally, and something in her tone softened without blurring. You are not here to be the villain in your grandson's story. You are here to end a chapter that used your kindness as currency. When you go home today, I want you to throw away that spare key and any story that tells you your safety has to be earned. Nani's laugh was a tiny, watery sound. I will. Good. The judge glanced at Zane. You want to say one more thing, she said. Say it to the record, not to her. Zane gripped the podium, not like a cliff, like a desk you can actually work at. I used your name to buy things, he said, voice steadying. I threatened you when you tried to stop me. I lied to people who ask questions. I asked the world to treat me like an exception. The court isn't. I'm going to pay what I owe, take the classes, and leave you alone while I do it. If I fail at any part of that, this folder goes across the street. I understand. The judge nodded. Better, she said. Now do it without the speech. She signed, fluid, a signature that had closed many chapters. The clerk stamped. The bailiff stepped back. The purple folder stayed on the bench, unmoved but not forgotten. Asterisk. Judgment is entered, the judge said, and the sentence sounded like a locked door finally clicking into place. Stay away order granted. Compliance review in 30 days. Bring proof of class enrollment and proof of 2 on-time payments. She lifted her gavel, then stopped, not for drama, for precision. Mr. Malik. He looked up. When you leave this room, your old exits will call you. Just one text, just one password you forgot to change, just one emergency. That's how patterns want to live. They beg. Your answer every time is no. Not because she's your grandmother, because you're done being the person who needed other people to pay for his fear. He swallowed. Yes, the gavel dropped once. A sound that didn't shout. A sound that settled and held that court moved. The bailiff guided Zane to the clerk's desk. Sadia crossed to Nami with a small, careful embrace that asked permission and got it. Lila traded numbers with the clerk and glanced at Nani with a look that said, I'll be on the floor tonight, lights on. At the rail, the apology letter sat quiet. The clerk slipped it into a manila sleeve. Nani didn't reach for it. She didn't need proof that he could write. She needed proof that he could follow. Miss Khan, the judge said as she stood to leave, do you want the court to read his apology into the record? Nani shook her head. No, she said. He said enough out loud. Wise, the judge said. Words are lighter than locks. She turned to go, then paused with one hand on the door, the way she had before the recess. This is not a story about a monster and a saint, she said to the room. It's a story about a cycle and a line drawn through it. Money brought you here. Boundaries will get you home. The door closed behind her. The purple folder stayed where it was. Zane looked at it like a weather forecast. Not doom, not safety. A warning system. He signed the last paper, the wage garnishment consent, with a pen that didn't shake. Sadia didn't touch his arm. She told the clerk, we'll head to the provider after this. The lock, then the credit freeze. Plans. Verbs. Layla slipped her phone into her bag and gave Nani a nod that was more solid than any speech. I'll walk you out, she said. We'll check the fern. Nani smiled at that, the first clean smile of the day. We'll move the fern, she said, and the joke wasn't a joke. It was a plan. They walked toward the door together, small steps, steady. Zane watched his grandmother go and didn't follow. Not this time. He turned to the clerk instead. Where do I pay? Here, the clerk said and pointed. Boring and specific. A good start, on the bench. The apology letter waited in its sleeve, A map that meant nothing unless the feet moved. The gavel's echo faded. What stayed was the outline of a different life. No keys that aren't yours. No names that aren't yours. No love used as a lever. Outside, somewhere down the hall, a maintenance cart rattled. Locks were getting changed. Court adjourned.